It's time to let it flow. It's time to let it flow. Yeah, it's time to let it flow. Yeah, it's time to let it flow. It's time to let it flow. Welcome to the next episode of Let It Flow. I got a special guest with me, Lynette, the group home mogul. How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
So where are you from?
I'm from Meridian, Mississippi. I moved to Texas in 2012, so I guess I'm approaching my 13th year here in Houston.
What brought you to Houston?
So at the time when I was in Mississippi, we had to my job basically lost the contract, so we either had to choose to onboard with the new company or we could transfer. So I transferred to Conroe, and I've been here ever since.
Conroe. That's where you are now?
No, I'm in Spring now.
Oh, okay. Well, it's about the same from here.
Yep.
So what is the Rush to Wheat group homes? What is that?
So Rush to Wheat Homes, that's my group homes in the Houston area. I grew my business to 8 unlicensed homes here. And I've been doing that since 2021. So Rush to Wheat Homes, that's my group home business.
Okay, nice. So, when did you open that business?
That was, I got started in April 2021, but I officially started getting my clients June of 2021.
Okay. So what is that, like about 3 years or so?
Yeah, we're going on 4.
So for the viewers that don't know, and I'm not really too familiar either, what is a group home? So
group homes, it's like an umbrella term for people who are living in a house, 3 or more unrelated individuals living under one roof. And so with my model, I house people 2 per room. So it's kind of like house hacking or co-living. There's several different names for it, but the gist of it is multiple people living under one roof paying a fee per month.
Like under what circumstances? 3 people who want to live together? Kind of sounds like roommates.
No, 3 or more. So basically, like my biggest house, I have 11 people in that home.
Okay.
It's a 5-bedroom house,
wow.
And I have one private room, a few shared rooms, and one of my rooms actually have 4 beds in it. And so it's based on the square footage of the house. So it's not, I said 3 or more, but it
could be a lot.
Yeah. So like in the Houston area, we can go up to 16 people.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. It's just based on the square footage.
Oh, so not by the bedroom, but by the square footage.
Right.
Okay. So what got you into doing group homes?
So like I told you, when I moved here, I was working in corrections. And so I noticed that there was a lot of people who were going home from prison, whether they were going on parole or flat discharge. And I noticed that there wasn't housing available for them, or they was having issues with getting housing due to their criminal background. So right. After seeing a lot of the sad faces when they supposed to be happy going home, knowing that one of the issues was housing, I thought it would be a good idea to start a halfway house at the time. And as I started doing research in the industry, I realized that there were a lot of population experiencing homeless or almost homeless. So I just dived into it.
So when you say corrections, what were you doing in corrections? I
was a CO, a correctional officer in a prison.
Oh, okay, okay. How long did you do that for?
I started that in 2019, I believe, up until 2022. Yeah.
So, okay, tell me, what was your craziest story being a CO?
You know what? Fortunately for me, well, I guess when I first started, I started at a prison that was designed for people with mental health issues. Mm-hmm. So it was like Wacky Hood, that's what they call it. So I had to witness people hanging. I had to witness them cutting themselves, hearing voices, just a lot because of their mental health. So I guess when I first started this journey with corrections, I kind of got the worst end of it starting off. But as I transitioned through corrections, I worked at a immigration, so people who were illegal immigrants. I worked at one of those prisons, and then I ended up at a transfer facility in Huntsville where the inmates there didn't stay longer than 2 years. So it wasn't like a rock and roll facility. It was kind of chilled. Either they was just trying to do their time or just sit back until they go to their permanent unit. So it was a lot of different faces because it wasn't just a regular unit. So the craziest was dealing with people who had mental health issues.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. You know, I'm not like no expert on this, but I always kind of wondered about like those people who hear voices. What are they hearing? Like, what is it?
So I haven't did too much of my research on that, but I do in my group homes house people who live with mental health issues as well. But I've been told that we all have our inner voice that we're listening to or hear,
Right.
but they are responding to it. And I've heard that, it's just like that voice in your head that we all have, but some people deal with it different. But for me, after hearing, like I said, I was in corrections and housed this population. The things that they are responding to of the voice in their head is more than just that little voice in your head, because that voice is telling them to do things.
Bad things?
Yeah. And so...
That's strange, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just maybe their inner voice isn't like is maybe demonic.
Yeah,
voice.
And that's kind of like what I was getting at with that. Maybe they're more connected to, what's going on outside of the norm, the supernatural. Maybe they're cueing in, like they got it's almost like a radio. They're tuned to a different frequency.
Yeah.
And maybe they're hearing something that we could hear if we were tuned. They were born with a different frequency.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a thought. I don't know, because we always try to explain everything scientifically or it's a psychological thing. And maybe that's true, but what if we're diagnosing people, putting them in prison or in facilities, when in all reality we need to, because I feel like back in the day, like way back in the day, people used to actually listen to those people. Like when people were like they had visions and they had insight, that's probably the type of people they were talking about. They just looked at them differently. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They looked at it, instead of looking at it as like a bad thing, they looked at it as a gift. And they were probably able to kind of maybe tune their frequency a little better. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe. Or the medications, I feel like Texas is kind of behind on the generation of medication, and I don't feel like doctors are actually taking the time to properly diagnose and give them the proper treatment, because the healthcare here for psychiatric individuals is horrible. I know that it's like an insurance thing for the most part. So if an insurance company only approved them for 2 to 3 weeks on the psychiatric care, and if they haven't reached their baseline by the 2 or 3 weeks, they're still going to discharge them back into the community, and they haven't properly been treated. So it's a lot of things that goes into why people aren't getting what we call stable.
That's interesting, because from what I know about like psychological drugs, you take it today and it don't really affect you for like 2 weeks or 4 weeks. Not like like a lot of them are like that. So to only give them that short amount of time, what change really happened? If it did change, it's going to go right back to where it was when you're off the medication, right? So, I mean, I feel like you're right about that. A lot of misdiagnosing going on. But I also feel like you shouldn't just diagnose people with shit. Like, you shouldn't just give someone a pill, like, here, prescribe people shit. What about, like, teaching them in psychological, like, trying to teach them, how to think better, how to make better decisions? Because if you give someone a pill, it's not really the solution. It's like a cover up. It's like putting a Band-Aid.
It is like a cover up, or have them just like zoned out, like they being like a zombie. But they do have like therapeutic treatments. They have psychiatrists come and talk to them. They have to go to group sessions, peer support, and things like that. So they do have it, and it work for some, and then some it don't. So it just depends on the individual for the most part.
Yeah, I feel like, it has a lot to do with you wanting to get better. And maybe when you're in that state of mind, maybe you just can't really get yourself in the position to want to be better. You might not even realize there's something wrong with you, because what's normal to you, you're like, this is me. I do this. I talk to myself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or I have thoughts in my head of other people speaking, but it's normal. But other people are like, hey, that's not normal.
Yeah, you're right about that. Because a lot of people don't want to take medication because they feel like they're okay. And they do look at people who perceive themselves as normal as people who, like, you the crazy one.
Exactly. Like this me, so you're the weird one, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So do you believe in God?
I do.
You know, I brought this up in other podcasts. Do you think that God sent us here to take a pill to be something different than what we were created to be? Like he created you to be that person. Now you're taking a pill to change.
Well, I do feel like medication is important and mental health treatment is important because although, he brought us here to be ourselves, there are some things that are triggering or overbearing that causes us to have some type of mental health how would I call it? We used to say it back home, a breakdown, like a mental health breakdown. So I don't feel like the medication for your mental health is any different if you had a cold, flu, you need pain medicine because your knee hurt or anything like that. I feel like we need to normalize taking medication for our mental health if, we feel like we're going too far off the edge.
Right, because you actually just made a good point. I didn't think about that angle. If you're born with it, that's one thing. God put you here. But like, what if some people go through things, traumatizing situations, and trigger these psychological issues that they weren't born like that. It happened in their life. So I can see what you mean for sure. But yeah, a little bit off topic.
It's okay. I enjoy it because, it's in the realm of what I do anyway. I deal with a lot of people of various backgrounds. So mental health is kind of like important to me to understand and to relate to them because my parents both live with a mental illness until they expired. So I don't go in a deep dive and research and things like that. But when I do see people who are dealing with something, I take to them. Like I don't try to pass judgment. If I can
feel them.
Yeah. So I try to help them no different than I would help someone who's mentally stable.
Yeah. You made a good point when you said you got to get properly diagnosed because these are some strong medications that if you're taking something, they're changing your chemical balance of your brain. So if you don't have that specific, because you can't really always test for that. It's kind of like a psychologist like, oh, you have bipolar. So they give you a pill that makes someone with bipolar now have a regular chemical. They balance your chemicals. But what if that's not what I have? Now you're just making it worse. Now you're making me more crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's very important to vet the doctors.
Yeah.
But hey, if you are struggling with mental health issues, it may be something that you're not able to do because you're not in the sound mind to do some independent research on the doctor that you're using. But a lot of times when it's people who are just, let's say, struggling with maybe some anxiety or depression and not too manic, then we have the opportunity to research more than what someone who's too far gone can do.
Right. So the message to people is if you got someone that you know who has a problem, a psychological problem, help them find the right doctor. Because if they're not in the right state of mind and then they need help,
the police is gonna detain them and send them to the first availability who got opening. So
that's it.
There's no right or wrong way to do it in the eyes of the police or people who are working in the mental health field or a crisis center. It's whoever. If you pass the board, here you go.
Right. It's a system that's set up that isn't necessarily set up to help people every time. It's just about fulfilling what they were there to do.
Right.
Like their job is to make sure that this person either goes to jail or gets mental health help or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Their job isn't to make sure they have a good doctor. That's something that's outside of their job.
And then if I'm being honest, healthcare, especially for the low income population in the state of Texas, is horrible. So Medicaid reimbursements are low. Most times people who have who live with mental health issues are on Medicaid most times. So there's not too much funding to actually provide the care that they need. So these reimbursement rates are so low, they're just slapping a diagnosis on them, giving them a few pills, trying to make them take it while they are in the institutional setting, and they send them back home. Now, people who are more wealthy and can invest in some private doctors and physicians or psychiatrists to see their loved ones and properly treat them and give them long-term care, then they have a better chance. But if you are falling under the umbrella of Medicaid in the state of Texas, you're liable to just get anybody, because most people who take Medicaid, they have to get their money in volume. So they trying to get, rush them in and rush them out. Whereas people who so you get your money one way or the other. Volume, or you deal with a a high end clientele with money. You don't get as many of them, but you get compensated a little bit more. So that's the catch-22.
Yeah. Okay, so I heard you mention that you help people start group homes. Tell me more about that. Like, what do you do?
So I have a platform on Facebook called Group Homes for Newbies. And inside of Group Homes for Newbies, I share a lot of information about my journey and different tips and tricks to help people get started. I do live Q&As once or twice a week to answer any general questions that people may have to kind of get them going or get them unstuck, because it could be one or two things that people are stuck on, like they need a breakthrough or they need to get off the hook. And so I help them get off the hook and in my group home for Newbies group. But I also do conferences. So I travel across the country teaching people how to start their group homes from A to Z. So I give them documents, and I just have a PowerPoint presentation of everything from start to finish. And of course, with my community on Facebook, that's kind of like where they go for more guidance if they need it. And that I did, my first tour was last year. I had about 600 people attend, and out of those 600 people, I can say that a majority of them actually got started with their group homes. My group homes are actually...
The majority of 600 people got started with the group homes?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, either through partnerships or actually starting. Mm-hmm. And so my method is the unlicensed route. So I teach people how to go about this without having to go through their state to be licensed, because everybody that we house in unlicensed homes are able to respond to an emergency situation in less than 3 minutes. So
if you're licensed?
No, if you're unlicensed.
Okay.
So if you are licensed or you're looking to be licensed, those are more people who require 24-hour care and supervision. They may be bedridden, or they may have some type of cognitive impairment.
So those are like people helping not so much out of jail, but more so like medical
or seniors,
senior citizens.
Yeah. So it's it's a few demographics that fall under a licensed facility. But like I said, what I do is unlicensed. So for the most part, the demographics that I serve are people who they don't need 24-hour care, nor do they need 24-hour supervision, but they may need assistance with their daily living tasks. So they may need help with like cooking, cleaning, bathing, doctor's appointments, medication reminding, going shopping, and things like that. Something kind of like put it in mind of like a senior who lives independently, but they may have their grandkids or their children coming or doing certain tasks for them because they'll be either overexerting themselves to get it done, or don't have transportation, no longer driving, just different little things that majority of other people do for seniors anyway. But you have some that cannot afford to live independent anymore. One of the biggest things that I see with the population that I serve is they outlive their money, or they didn't invest in retirement. So they live day by day. And so now they can't afford to live independent with all of the bills and things that it takes to run a home or an apartment. So my lowest bed is $725 a month, all bills included. A lot of people who, let's just say they didn't invest in retirement, but they invested in maybe like Social Security. So when they worked out their lives, the government took out Social Security out of their check each pay period. So that's the money that they have to live off of. Well, sometimes it's not a lot.
Not enough to pay all the bills.
Yeah. So, or they may have bought their home late in life, and by the time they hit retirement age, they may start. They got to a point where they couldn't work or had a disability, and so they had to let their house go. Just it's so many different factors as to why people live in these unlicensed homes, but it is a very lucrative business. I grew my business to $500,000 in 3 years.
Wow.
So, in my homes, I had...
Is that how much you're making a year, or what you mean $500,000?
That's bring home.
Okay. Every year. Okay, nice. Wow.
Mm-hmm. So I didn't start... So it got there around about year 2.
Wow.
Yeah, as long as I'm all of my beds are full, I'm at my max occupancy. Yeah.
Nice. So you're basically being somebody's family. Like you're doing, like if someone doesn't have a family to take care of them, that's what you're becoming. So, do you have people that work for you? Like as far as you say, like some people need like care 24 hours, not 24 hours, but like, throughout the day. Is that somebody you got people who do that for you or you do that yourself?
Yeah, so I actually have house managers that come into my home, and I found my house managers basically people who maybe fell on hard times, lost their job, fully capable, fully competent. They just fell on hard times and needed like a hand up. So I allowed them to come into my home in exchange for them living and eating free. They just have to perform any of the tasks that's needed throughout the house. So I don't necessarily have staff. We have house managers or house leaders to perform those tasks for those individuals.
Wow. Is it hard to find
No.
those? They're easy, huh?
Yes. We're in Houston for one. We have domestic violence shelters, just regular homeless shelters, different nonprofit organizations that cater to the homeless population. Not everybody that's homeless are, bad people or doing drugs and alcohol or have a severe mental illness. Some of them are just fell on hard times. And so those individuals we allow to come into the homes to be either the house leader or house manager. And it's not like they're bogged down with work or tasks in the home. So they still have the opportunity to look for work so that they can start paying rent eventually and get on their feet to go off to better things. So
when you say paying rent, you mean like in their own house, in their own home? Or
no, so they have to. So we allow them to stay and look for work. Okay. So once they start looking for work, we try to give that position to somebody else that may need opportunity.
Yeah. So you're helping a lot of different levels of people.
Yes,
I like that. So how does it feel every day waking up knowing that you're helping people? Like what does it feel? Because I feel like that's an important thing to ask because a lot of people don't help a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So what does that give you in return?
I love it. I just know that when I started this business, I had a mission to serve and help people. And so I am definitely fulfilling my mission. And I see that me doing this is bringing joy to others, right? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times they end up in situations or environments that's not conducive. And so my homes are we kind of like family. Yeah. I create that environment. So I recognize birthdays. We celebrate holidays. When we have like the Super Bowl, we celebrate that. We just have backyard barbecues. So it's kind of like a homey setting. But everybody run their homes different. I try to tell my mentees that you don't have to do it the way that I do it. That's just the environment that I create. But it also helps my retention because of what I give. So even though I'm profiting well off of my business, I do pour back into the people that's within my home. So I enjoy it, and it takes care of me.
You care about what you do. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, I hear a lot of people like they be like foster parents and stuff, and they mistreat their foster kids. They just do it for the money.
Right.
I mean, you got anything great in life, you got to do for the money at the end of the day because we can't be out here, having no food or nowhere to live. But if you do things for more than just the money, that makes a big difference.
Right.
But I mean, a lot of people don't take the time to help people. And I think that's important that more people do.
Yeah. It's definitely a need. Affordable housing is on the rise. It's all things being considered what's going on in the world.
Right.
There are going to be more people who may struggle with finding affordable ways to live. So it's definitely one of those business models that's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Right. If anything, it'll probably become more needed, for sure.
Yeah, as mortgages rise, as apartments or rent increase, people just can't afford it, especially when you're not getting as many raises. Minimum wage is still $7.25 an hour. And you just look at inflation, that ain't going up. So it's unfortunate, but that's the reason why we need more group home operators to be there for the people when they need us.
Right. So I'm just curious. It's just a random question. So let's say that I'm living in a group home and, I want to bring a girl through. How does that go down?
So
you get any privacy?
So if you got a private room, you want to pay for a private room, then that's between you and your closed doors. But if you in one of the rooms that you are sharing a room with someone else, then it's not allowed.
It's not permitted. Okay.
Now, if you and your roommate work out something,
like, hey, I need
and
an hour.
there's no confusion,
yeah,
something like that, that's fine. But we don't have any overnight guests for sure.
Oh, so no overnight guests ever?
No.
Okay.
Unless they paying for a bed. They paying for a night.
Oh, okay. Is there a curfew? Like when you have to be inside, or you can come on whenever you want?
So curfews and things like that is given institutionals.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no.
Okay.
I just tell them to come in, when they come in and going, just be respectful of the other house guests. You come in loud, drunk, morning, like crazy, then you're going to have to leave.
Yeah.
So, but I don't have a restriction on what time they come and go. They just have to come in and be respectful of everybody else.
Right. So, like, for doing, how long you say you've been doing this for? Like 3 years now, the group homes?
It'll be 4 years in a few months.
So in the 4 years, like, what's some of the hardest struggles that you had to face running group homes?
So my challenges were, I had a lot of challenges simply because when I started this business, I had no blueprint. I just had an idea, and I had to try to piece a lot of things together. So I made a lot of mistakes in comparison to people who have mentorship. It was a lot of gatekeeping when I first started. Although these homes was around, nobody wanted to share any information. So I guess one of my main struggles when I first started was taking in people who needed care or had mental health issues that was very manic behaviors. And I didn't know how to read their HMP, where it's the history and physical that the doctor sends or their social worker send. Right. I had to Google different things that was coming in, and some of the stuff that just didn't make sense to me because I didn't have a medical background. And I was taking in pretty much everybody because I felt like at that time they need a place to stay, so I'm going to house them. But it came very stressful and chaotic because I didn't understand what some diagnoses were. So now I know
what to watch out for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Different medications, the different milligrams, how strong, how often they take medicine lets me know
how serious the issue is. Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that. So did you ever have a house that just had a bunch of people just having manic episodes?
I actually started my group home business in my personal home.
Ooh.
At the time, I had just lost my job, and I only had $10,000 in my savings account. And I was standing in that position just like a lot of people who are beginners, like, okay, I have to make an investment.
Right.
I don't want to, if I dump all of my money into this and if it don't work, then what am I do?
Can't take the L.
Yeah. So I started in my house. So my children goes to Mississippi for the summer. And so I have a 4-bedroom house and 3 of the bedrooms are upstairs. So while they were gone, I put 2 beds in each one of the rooms upstairs and I started my group home business. Well, when I first started, the population that I started with were people who were returning home from prison, as well as the mental health population. Those were the first 2 populations that I entertained, right?
Right.
And so
probably the highest demand in those 2.
Is very the highest demand.
Absolutely.
Next to seniors.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
but that's a whole different thing. That's license, right?
No.
Well, not in all cases.
So license, it just depends on your level of care.
Okay, how much help they need.
Yeah.
How
so
often
if you still kicking as a senior, then you can be in an unlicensed home.
Okay, got it.
So I got a few people who came from a mental health hospital in my personal home.
Straight out.
Yes. And so with me not having any experience, like I said initially, when they were coming in, they were saying, oh, I was misdiagnosed. I don't have to take that medicine. That medicine don't do anything for me. Me, in experience, okay, well, if you don't want to take the medicine, you're misdiagnosed. Who am I to say you're lying, right? Because I'm listening to them. And might I add, they were they weren't just seniors. They were my senior. So they was in their 40s and 50s. Here I am, 27. This grown woman, this grown man tell me they ain't got to take no medicine. I can't tell them what, so I'm okay, put that to the side. And as days went on, shit got real.
Oh yeah.
In my personal house.
Oh wow.
I had one guy in there eating raw bacon.
Oh my God.
I had a lady who heard voices, yelled and screamed at the voices, not just talked back to them, but argued. I had one lady who she had bipolar, and so 1 minute she was fine, and the next minute she was manic. And you know, coming up in school or in my early 20s, you hear people say, "Oh, I'm bipolar," because they, you know, spaz out here and there, but nothing crazy.
Yeah.
So, you know, somebody say I got bipolar, I'm used to that.
It's not that big of a deal. Right.
Yeah, until you meet somebody
it's really bipolar.
It's a different ballgame.
Yeah.
So I had this lady I had one lady, she was schizophrenic. I had somebody that was bipolar. I had somebody who, the guy that was eating bacon, raw bacon, he wasn't really manic. He was coming off of K2. So I got him from prison. So he was smoking at K2 and had gone crazy. And because that was like his first night.
Out. Straight out.
First night. So
I ain't gonna lie. That K2 shit's real. That shit is not good. I've had an experience on that shit too. Where I smoked it one time. I was on probation, so I couldn't do nothing. So I was smoking that. And I only did it like a couple times, you know. And I smoked a whole blunt of it. And I went out in the living room. And my son was like 10 months old. And I literally saw my son. I was like, oh, I have a son. I forgot I had a son. That's how just. And I was like, okay, nah.
Not messing with this.
That's over.
Yeah, so he was actually my first client. I got him situated, settled in, went in my room, went to sleep. I locked the door. I had a lock on my door. I woke up the next morning. He had went in my bathroom upstairs, took everything out of the bathroom, took everything out of the other bedrooms, had stuff scattered all over the floor, like the iron. He was downstairs in the pantry, had food, everything. The floor was covered in just random items, and he was eating raw bacon.
Oh my God.
Because of K2. So I thought he had, you know, a horrible mental health issue. So I took him to a mental health hospital. But basically he just had to detox off of that. And then he was pretty normal. Now he had some intellectual disabilities, but as far as mental health and being manic, he wasn't. But that K2 had him when he first got there.
So he was smoking it there, or he was just...
No, he came.
Okay, so he was just... okay, he just came on already.
Yeah.
Jeez. See, it's one thing to like have a house that you don't live in, like that isn't yours. But when people do that with your house,
with my shit,
yeah, that hits a lot different. Actually,
yeah. So it was crazy. It was crazy, and this went on for 2 months.
Ooh.
Because I was determined not to spend my $10,000. So what I did was of course, at that time I was charging them $650. So I had the 6 people in the house paying $650 for so the 1st of June, the 1st of July, and the 1st of August. So I had 3 payments from these people. So by the time August 1st came, I had enough money to pay the deposit and first month rent and furnish the home with the money that I had collected within my house. So when I started the business, I wasn't out of any money.
So speaking to the people who want to start a group home, do you suggest taking that route for them?
So I speak to all languages, right? If you don't have money to start the business, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
So my method, when I first started, I had to make a sacrifice because not everybody who are becoming entrepreneurs have a lot of resources, financial resources to invest into the business model, right? Or any business. So if you're in a position to where your back is against the wall and you have to do what you got to do, like survival mode to, have that breakthrough, then I suggest them start that way if they can. I tell people all the time, hey, like right now we're in tax season. When you get your taxes, see if you can upgrade to if you want a 3-bedroom, go to a 4-bedroom. Use that 4-bedroom to put 2 people in it to start generating some revenue so that you can eventually get a house, right? But you have some people are fortunate enough to be able to make the investment off the bat and just go ahead and either purchase a house or rent a house. So it just depends on the circumstance. I don't try to make people feel like because they don't have a lot of money that they can't become an entrepreneur or they can't become a group home operator. I try to dissect where they are and meet them there, and we figure it out that way.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It doesn't matter what business you're trying to start. Don't let shit hold you up. Don't let shit hold you up. You got to do what you got to do. You might not start with everything you need,
Right.
but you're going to get there. A lot of people just never do shit.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I don't have this. I don't have that. Or I need to get a better this. And they're like,
all day long.
And like all year long. It'll be like New Year's Eve. I'm going to get the things I need to start this thing. They're like 2 months later, I didn't get it yet. I'm working on it. 3 months later, next thing you know, they're not doing it. This is a story of most people who lose in life, or most people who don't succeed in life. Stop procrastinating.
Yeah, you got to take imperfect action. Perfect it along the way. Build up your ideal or the way you want it to be along the way. Like me. If I had to sleep on the couch and give up my bedroom, if that's what it took for me to get to where I needed to be, that's what I would have done. I don't come from a background of wealth. If I'm being honest, I'm like the first entrepreneur in my family. It wasn't taught. So, I just made a sacrifice. And I can't say that survival mode, I was in it for a long time. I had my first child when I was 15 years old. I had to make a lot of sacrifices, and I had to struggle, and I had to survive. So my survival skills over the years, even in that situation with them bringing them into my house, you just think different. When you got to get shit done, you just think different. You process things different. You got to survive. I can't lay down. Because like I said earlier, both of my parents passed away. My mama died when I was 3. My daddy died when I was 19. My maternal grandmother died when I was 5. My paternal grandmother died when I was 17. My grandfathers was never here. So once by the time I was 19, everybody was gone. So I could have used that as an excuse to get on welfare, get into projects, not do shit. Hey, I ain't got nobody. But instead, I just kept going because of my teachings. That's just not something that within my household, who I call my family, which is who raised me, my daddy and my siblings. I have a twin sister and I have a brother who we all live together. But I also have a oldest brother that my mom had as well. But we didn't get to grow up together. But in that home, even though we was poor, we had a lot of love, a lot of guidance, a lot of structure, and a lot of teaching. So that's what helped me. I don't make excuses. The mind is a terrible thing to waste. It's true. If you don't use your mind, if you can't think, you're not going to go far. Right. So you may have to be creative with your thoughts and keep going. So yeah, I feel like I was able to get this started, not because I had money. It was because of my life experiences that taught me never to give up. And I was very determined and I got it done. Even when I was working jobs, I was what they call Miss Dedicated. I showed up to work. I showed up for everybody else. I'm definitely going to show up for myself. Right, because like we said, you care about what you do. Yeah. And I'm glad that you did have the upbringing. That's definitely hard to lose your parents, your parents and grandparents by 19 years old. There's two different types of people in this world. There's people who are going to lay down. When things get hard, either they're going to give up or they're going to go harder. People are going to go through pain. Either you're going to let it make them stronger or weaker. I mean, pain's always going to make you weak in certain moments. Might miss somebody at certain days or certain times of the year. Yeah. But it's okay to get weak in the moment. It's not okay to stay weak for longer than that moment. You got to face your pain, but you cannot let the pain and the bad things destroy you or your goals. If anything, the greatest people out there took the things they went through and they turned that into the drive to be great. Turn your pain into purpose. Yes, exactly. Yeah, so and one thing that I haven't mentioned was when I lost my job, I had a criminal background when I was leaving corrections. So that's how I got out of corrections. And so I also try to tell people that just because you've committed crimes and society turn their back on you and make you feel like this big criminal, you don't have to walking that light. You know, you don't have they don't have to be your story. They could be what they think you are. But like for me, I done did a lot of things. And I share my story with my following all the time. I done did a lot of things. I done survived. So now I'm at a point to where I don't have to do those things. But I don't allow my past to dictate where I'm going. It was just, I consider it all a blessing because it got me to this point. I wouldn't have took a different path. But so there are people who feel like they're going to, since society judged them because they've done things or had to do things, whether they have a criminal background or whether they had to choose a path to do what they got to do, right? I'm not going to go into details, but sometimes people have to do things to get where they're going. Where, you know, you can draw a line in the sand and you become the entrepreneur. I feel like anybody with a criminal record should try entrepreneurship because you don't get told no. You can't get that promotion or you can't get this job.
We checked your background and we saw this thing on there. Yeah. And that promotion ain't gonna work for you.
Yeah. And so that's just like for me. People from my background. So, you know, most time you won't even get an interview, but it's like you don't even know who just applied for this position. Like I could really run your company because I'm really that girl.
Absolutely.
But you allowing what you see on this paper to dictate whether or not.
What's the system to keep certain people out of the system? Yeah, for sure. And that's why I feel like a lot of people should become. I said another podcast earlier this week where I was like, if you're a drug dealer and that's what you do, you probably might have a better entrepreneurial mind than somebody who got a business degree.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the stuff that you learned, you scaled a business with zero marketing.
Yeah.
And like no, all you did is just word of mouth.
They got the whole operation down.
You got it all. Mm-hmm. Like there's principles. Just because you go to school, they teach these principles. They have a certain name for it. Mm-hmm. Theories. You already understand it. Mm-hmm. You just don't know what it's called.
Right.
Like supply and demand is one of them. You know what I'm saying? You understand that shit.
Yeah.
Because you know what it's like when there's a drought and there ain't no work. Mm-hmm. And you know you could charge, if you're the one with the work, you could charge more. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's
it's the same concept.
It's a very big business. Just like with group homes. If there's not many group homes to choose from, you can raise your price if you want.
Yeah.
If there's abundance of group homes, you're like, man, I got all these openings.
So you might have to run a special. You might have to offer more services.
Exactly.
Things like that.
Supply and demand.
Yep.
Simple. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I definitely agree. You are whatever you say you are. If you tell yourself you're a criminal every day, I'm a criminal, I'm a killer, I'm a drug dealer.
And I can't do this.
And that's what you are.
Yeah.
Like that's all you're ever going to be. Mm-hmm. Because that's what you say that you are. If you tell yourself, I used to make mistakes, but now I'm a different person. Yeah. If you tell yourself, I'm an entrepreneur, you just make like you say, you draw a line in the sand, you're like, I've been doing this for too long. Mm-hmm. Now I'm an entrepreneur. That's what you are. So you got to stop telling yourself you're a criminal. You got to stop telling yourself you're whatever. Yeah. Anything negative. Mm-hmm. You got to tell yourself that you're something greater than that if you want to become it.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%.
Yeah. So what's the top 3 things you feel like somebody should know that's trying to get into the group home game?
You need a mentor. Mm-hmm. You need to be someone who is open to investing in their learning or investing in their education. And one thing that you don't need to get started is a house. Mm-hmm. Do you know anything about real estate?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I just learned here recently that you don't need your own money to even get properties. You can use other people's money, right? In different creative ways to get a house. So now I'm teaching my following that even though I rented 8 houses, right? Because I didn't know about the other ways to obtain a house. So money is not your worry. A lot of people feel like I got to have money. Money will come. You can get partnerships. You can get loans. Different ways to get money. That should be the least of the worry. Mm-hmm. What they need to be focusing on is the knowledge, getting the education to get things going, and not flying blind like I did and making a lot of mistakes. Now, you're going to make mistakes. Not even the best mentor in the world can prevent some mistakes that's going to happen. Right. You may have some growing pains that you got to get through, but getting that foundational education is very important. And always be always be seeking understanding and seeking knowledge. That's what that's the only advice that I have,
Yeah.
because you're gonna learn a lot of things along the way, and it's gonna get challenging. But I feel like with the proper support group or finding your tribe or a mentor or a coach is designed to get you through all those things. And that's something that I'm willing to help anybody that's willing to learn this business model.
Yeah, definitely. When you said just it's like every time anybody I have on here, no matter what they do, when I ask them like, give me some advice about how to get in your industry, they always say, learn.
Yeah,
Do your research. People like to jump into shit. Like, I feel like more people quit at things because they don't do research. Mm-hmm. They're just like, I'm gonna do this, and my boy did it, man. If he could do it, I can do it. I agree.
Or they don't see it through. A lot of times people think that becoming an entrepreneur is you get rich overnight, because a lot of these gurus online tell them, oh, you can make this, you can make
30
that.
30 days, 60 days.
Yeah, no, most times it's fluff.
Yeah.
For me, I'm not the mentor that's going to tell somebody, oh, within this amount of time, you can make this amount of money, because everybody's journey is different, right? But I can say that as long as you take the information, you apply it, and you see it through, and you baby it, it's going to happen for you. Millionaires aren't made overnight. Even if you making $20,000 a month, those things aren't done overnight. You have to put in work. You have to establish relationships. You have to learn the business. And so a lot of people just quit too soon.
They do.
Not to say that people will try things and it's just simply not for them. Those things happen as well.
Yeah.
But you have to actually put in the amount of time that's required. And you have to vet the person that is teaching you. A lot of people get blinded by lifestyle marketing, because they see the house, they see the cars, they see the jewelry, not knowing if it's really theirs, not knowing if the jewelry is really real. They may see a Birkin bag, they might have borrowed it. You got people who go into car dealerships pretending like they just purchased a vehicle. They do lifestyle marketing, and it's like they're blinded by the flash. And so that's one thing that I don't do to my following.
Yeah.
I try to be relatable, and I'm realistic. I'm realistic about.
That's what makes a good mentor.
Yeah, I'm realistic about what you can and cannot do in this business.
Yeah, you got to keep it real, no matter what.
Because for me, I give free information all day long. Mm-hmm. So I'm a natural giver.
Yeah,
and I naturally want to see people win. Mm-hmm. I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm not someone who feel like somebody could take something from me. I do feel like I'm a creator. So if by chance something became saturated and I feel like I couldn't pay my way through it anymore, I got other things, that I can do, because I'm a creator. So I don't worry about what's on somebody else's plate. I don't worry about, let me hoard this information because this person is going to outdo me.
Yeah.
I don't think like that.
You should never.
And I have tunnel vision. So even if I do teach hundreds of people this business model, I'm checking in as your mentor. I'm not checking in to see what you got going on.
Yeah.
To stay in no company. Yeah, I don't care. Because once I get off the phone, they so far off of my radar because I'm back to doing what I'm doing. And I like to tell people that, like, you have some people who are teaching things, but they're not actively doing it. Me, I'm a mentor that's actually out here doing his business.
You're not just talking about it.
Yeah, so I'm dealing with any type of hurdles that come about, any type of laws that change. I'm facing everything that they're gonna face. So I'm out here seeing it in real time, dealing with it in real time, and I have the experience and knowledge to back it up.
Right.
So
I feel like that is one of the things that makes someone a good person, a real genuine person, is never gatekeeping and giving people the knowledge. Like, there's so many people, and I will agree that if you want to be like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or one of these guys, they probably didn't tell everybody everything they knew. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to be a multi-billionaire, maybe you can gatekeep. But if you just want to be a good person and you want to get blessings from God, you got to give to people. Stop.
I really don't feel like they probably gatekeep. They just not going to give it to you for free.
Yeah, exactly.
Certain things that, if designed to take you to next levels, they have people that they've told. Mm-hmm. Even if they
screwed them over.
Yeah. I mean, you got mentorships that cost $50,000 to get in a room.
Good point.
You have mentorships, like one of the mentorships that I want is like $30,000. So and these are people who are multimillionaires. So for me to get in the rooms with them or get the teaching from them, I have to pay.
You got to be willing to pay that price.
Right. So
I agree. That's a good point. You made a good point. So we have to distinguish the difference between gatekeeping and just knowing the value of what you have, your knowledge, right?
Right. Because if you look at it, you go to a university, you can't just go in there and get all the education that you need for free.
True. We're not going to call them gatekeepers.
No. You just have to pay. So
so be willing to invest in yourself.
All day long. Because the free information, they say success leaves clues. So you're going to see clues throughout the but if you want the game changing information, it's not going to come for free. Right. So I don't really feel like nobody is truly a gatekeeper. Everybody will tell you what you need to know at the right dollar amount.
Right. And another thing you said was when we were talking about comparing yourself, you should never compare yourself to nobody else. You said it before when you said that everybody's path is different, and you cannot compare to nobody else's path. The only way you're going to be happy doing what you do is to not compare yourself. Only person you compare yourself is to you yesterday. If you're comparing to other people who already got it, or they got it in 30 days or 60 days, or they just got successful so quick, you're never going to be happy. You're always going to feel inadequate, and eventually you're going to quit.
The feedback that a lot of my mentees or just my followers give me is that I'm relatable. And so I'm not going to say never, because I don't know where life will take me. But as of right now, I feel like I want to be that girl that people can actually reach and they can actually talk to. Not become so big to where the people that need me can't reach me. So I always want to have that space where people who, let's just say, entry level people, they not making $10, $20, $30, $40,000 a month. They're trying to get there. So I don't want to put so much in their face or blind them with so much materialistic stuff to where they feel like I'm so far beyond their reach, or the life that I live is so far beyond their reach, because I like to try to show them that I was just where you were.
Right.
You know, so I don't want to get too big. Not big to where I'm saying, like, of course, my finances are growing, things that I want in life. I want those things. Those things are going to come, but it's not going to be to where I'm a lifestyle marketer. Oh, you can get this mansion if you do this. Right. You can get this Rolls Royce if you do this. No, because those people, it's not overnight. So I want to be that person where they can still reach. Like, I'm not too far from you. Just come on, but you got to come on. I tell my people, hey, I done learned something new. I'm about to teach you. You got to show up. You got to be present. You got to come on. And there's been people that literally no money, no job, in a negative, that I've been able to help pull them out of that situation. They making $10,000 a month now.
So this is part of that was the next question I was going to ask you. Tell me about your mentorship, what you offer, and give me like a success story that.
I got plenty of success stories, but with my mentorship, so I have like a self-starter package where I have a course. It's like 65 different modules, auto documents, and then ongoing support. That's the self-starter. Then I have a hybrid mentorship where you get everything with the self-starter, but you also get like a group coaching setting. Okay. Then I have a one-on-one mentorship where you get the hybrid level, the starter level, but you get me one-on-one. Okay. And then I have like my elite package where basically I go in person with you to market, help you build it from the ground up, like you own me type thing. So I have different tiers to try to accommodate. And then, of course, I have my conference. My conferences are for people who are really fast learners. They get everything in a 2-day setting. It's like intense training. Mm-hmm.
You said in person?
In person, yep. And I have different other panelists that come on and talk about different wraparound services. Because like one of the wraparound services I have now is a home care agency. It's a non-medical home care agency. It is licensed from the state. And kind of like how I told you that I have my house leaders or house managers that are coming to the home and assist with the ADLs, the activities daily living. Mm-hmm. Well, a non-medical home care agency pretty much service those people as well. Mm. So even though I have my house leaders, I can have each person in my home have a caregiver. And so the state pays me to pay a caregiver. Of course, I get a fee per person. So I started that business in 2023.
Wow.
I didn't start it right away, like as far as getting clients, marketing, and things like that. But I'm heavy in it now. I'm hoping to grow that to $1 million business this year. Not in revenue, but my bring home.
Wow.
My net profits.
I believe you're gonna do it.
I'm gonna do it. So I love marketing. Yeah. I love it. So
you're
that's
a good
part
speaker
of
too.
That's the part. Thank you. That's the part of the operation that I like to do. I love to market. I love to talk to people. I love educating. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I
feel like you're in the right. Like I feel like we all have a purpose in life, mm-hmm. and I feel like you're living in yours. Yeah. And maybe you had to go through the things that you went mm-hmm. through, which were some tough times, mm-hmm. you know, for sure, because you needed to be you. You needed to understand. You said something. You said you like to be authentic, not mm-hmm. just with your mentorship, mm-hmm. but also just being your authentic self. You're able to understand the people that you're bringing in the home. You're able to have you said your parents went through mental health issues, so you're able to have a certain understanding mm-hmm. that a lot of other people, maybe that's why you were able to get into this. Yeah. You know, because if not, maybe you never would have felt when you worked as a correctional officer, maybe you wouldn't have felt like you wanted to help those people if you didn't feel connected to them in mm-hmm. some way mm-hmm. or have a relatable sense. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. I'm going to get deep with you for a second. What's the hardest struggle that you went through in your life?
Ooh. I would have to say that the hardest struggle I went through in my life was my teenage pregnancy. Because not only, of course, I'm 15 years old with a baby, but 1 year later, her dad committed suicide. But I have I don't know. I just have back to back things that's done happened over my younger years to where I think that I finally came up for air when I was 28, 29. Everything before that moment has been just pressure, just me holding my breath for the next episode or me just constantly trying to navigate through things. So after that situation, of course, that's when my grandmother died. My daddy passed away shortly after that. I moved to Texas. When I moved to Texas, I was here for 2 weeks, and on the 14th day is when my daddy passed away. So I had to go back home and bury him. And then I was in a domestic violence relationship. I had my second child by the time I turned 20, and I was kind of left alone for a while with him, struggling, trying to figure it out. Finding people on Craigslist to watch my baby while I go to work. Strangers, don't just anxiety through the roof, not knowing that when I get off work, is this person that kidnapped my baby? Different stuff. I really had to do a lot to survive and to get to this point. So there's not too many. I'm not a judgmental person. I understand. But I can say just getting through that teenage pregnancy and the death of my father was the most impactful or hardship or heartache that I've ever experienced.
That's when you were 19?
By the time I was 19, yeah.
Dang, you went through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I will tell you this. I think that you became an amazing person.
Thank you.
And I definitely think you have a great heart. And you're trying to help the world, and I respect it. And I'm glad that you overcame those things and you became who you are today. And I believe that you will help a lot more people just out of your heart, you know. I mean, I feel like that's what you're here for.
That's my goal, is to help them. Yeah. It gives me purpose every day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Whether it's the people in my group home, whether it's just the average person on the street, whether it's somebody who, is looking for a new direction in life, what you see is what you get with me. So I don't turn on or turn off any personality, or I don't code switch. Mm-hmm. This is me.
Right.
So I don't feel like I done got too big for anybody.
That's how you should always be. Don't ever change that part about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So what advice do you have to women who are going through, similar things that you went through, or just, they're young, maybe 18, 16, they're going through a lot. And what advice do you have for them to keep that strength and get on the right course?
The only thing that I can recommend, let's just say if I'm talking to my younger self.
Exactly. That's what I want you to do.
Just not fall into crack battles or
Don't fall into what?
I call them crack battles.
Okay.
Things that you feel like that's gonna help you, but it's really gonna hurt you, or you feel like you have to take a chance, or you feel like you have to lay down, give your body to somebody to pay your light bill, like different little stuff like that. Just don't fall into those. Try to seek support if you got it. Find jobs. Connect with people who want to see you excel. And it's a lot of things. A lot of I guess faults that people have is surrounding themselves or trauma bonding with people that's in the midst of the same shit they going through. You can't get nowhere with people surrounding yourself by the same people who are in the same struggle as you. You got to start trying to find getting around people you admire, people who you strive to be like, or else all y'all gonna be doing is when you get paid this day, here go $20 on gas. I need my $20 back. You just gonna be in a cycle, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. It's gonna be hard to get out of that. Finding work that's gonna pay you a little bit more. Don't settle for a job because the bills are, is accommodating the bills or making do. Start trying to find, do your research to just get yourself out of that situation. You just have to, everything got to be in a constant state of growth. No stagnant. You got to keep moving. No, entertaining relationships that's not designed to help you. They cheating, so much drama, you fighting, you in the streets. That's just going to keep you there. And I'm telling you about stuff that I did. It was until I had to tap into my upbringing, because I tell people I done a lot of things, but it's not because I was raised that way. It was because of the people that I was surrounding myself by, the seeing the things that they was doing, or allowing them to influence me to do things that I know went against the man that my daddy raised me to be. So once I, had to have a conversation with myself and reflect to know that, okay, Lynette, you can do something better. You got to get yourself out of this. You can't, keep doing the same thing. What they say, that's insanity, right? Yeah. Expecting change by doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. So I just would encourage women to have your own. Don't be heavily dependent on anybody. Have your own. Work hard to change your situation, because ultimately that's what I did. I just worked hard at it. And then once I got to a point to where I did have my criminal background and people were telling me no, I didn't go run and try to get on Section 8 or any type of government housing, all of what people typically do. I just said, hey, I'm fixing to take a chance on myself. Because I'm I told somebody at one point, in order for you to go hard, you got to be hungry for it. You ain't hungry enough. Mm-hmm. You got some people who get complacent because life is easy, everything is going well, so you're not out there grinding, you're not out there marketing. You're not marketing your business, you're not making relationships, you're not in the mix. You just chilling because life is comfortable. So even though my plate is full my plate is full in an aspect of I'm okay. I'm not hungry. I'm not worried about my bills getting paid. I'm not worried if my children are okay. I'm not worried about, I can't afford this or I can't afford that. My plate is full now. But I still have a hungry mentality. I still remember when I did not have that. So I use that as my driving force every day to get up and do something. Right,
because the reason why the lion is the king in the jungle is because he's always hungry. Mm-hmm. His hunger never goes away. And that's how you become the king in life. A lot of people get success and they slow down. They're like, I got here. They reach the goal and they're like, I'm good. Mm-hmm. Goals are only meant to, you get there and you make a new goal. You don't just make a goal. You're like, all right, I'm here. You're where? I mean, you're dead. Like, there's still life to live. Yeah. You didn't really reach your goal. But when you said something about trauma bonds, that really hit. I never really thought much about trauma bonds, but you just said it. Because there was times in my life when I was in the past where I was like around people who were going through the same shit as me, were in similar mind states as me, not trying to grow in life necessarily. I was always the one who was always the most motivated out of the people around me.
A new idea, same as me.
And so it's like you never want to be surrounded by people that nobody got an idea but you. Because all them motherfuckers, that's a bad idea. Oh,
yeah.
Because if
we
you
can't
do that,
because it seems like it's too far.
Exactly.
They don't understand the sky is the limit.
Right. So the only time I was ever actually able to excel in life is when I got away from those people who I had trauma bonds with. Trauma bonds are not good. But I will say this. So I don't want to speak down on it because I feel like there are times in life where you might need a trauma bond. When you're at that bottom, you need someone to understand you. But I guarantee you one thing. 9 times out of 10, you won't end up staying with that person. Whoever you had that trauma bond with will not be around forever. They were there for the chapter. Don't hold on to those trauma bonds for too long. Y'all understood each other. You made each other feel like you're understood. You needed that. But
you got to keep going.
Got to keep going.
And then, I mean, this just brings me to a point of knowing that there are people that I consider my friends. I roll with, heavy, walk the streets with. Like, they was like my girls, right?
Right.
They're not here no more.
Exactly.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It's not that I switched up, like how they say you switched up. No, I just wanted more. And you can have more because, like I said, I'm very open to sharing information and knowledge of how to better yourself and coming from any kind of situation. There was a lot of people who had it worse as me, or there are people who had life worse than me. That made it that you know that rised above all of that.
Yeah.
But I just had people who they just couldn't go, and I had to understand that everybody can't go. Everybody need to understand that you got love. I still got love for them. I still wish them the best. If I can help you, I will. But I'm not gonna allow anybody to be the anchor for my life. If my next chapter says you're not part of it, you're not in this series.
Right. I feel like you didn't switch up. You switched on because you were off.
Yeah.
Your switch was set to off.
Yeah.
You weren't doing shit.
Yeah.
You were just getting by. And people say you switched up because you're different now. No, I switched on. When I was around you, I was off, man.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing shit.
Nothing.
I was on the wrong path. Listen to your ass telling me to do nothing all the time because when I go and do the shit I'm talking about doing, I'm not gonna have time for you no more.
Or it don't interest you.
Yeah, exactly. We're not gonna be able to chill no more because you ain't in on this shit. I'm trying to do something bigger that you just ain't gonna be a part of. So you're trying to tell me not to do it because when I switch on, you're gonna call it switched up, but I switched on. It's time to win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I made that decision, and I feel like I'm glad. I'm for all the people out there who need to make the decision. Switch on.
Switch on.
Switch on.
Yeah.
So, what do you see yourself doing outside of group homes?
Outside of group homes, of course, like I said, I have my home care agency. I do my mentorship, and everything else is just surrounded by family and my new tribe, my new friends, my new family. We hang out, we travel, brainstorm. I'm going to always be in a constant state of growth.
Yeah.
I'm never going to reach that max level of my levels are endless. Because soon as I master this, I'm on to the next. I'm always going to be trying to figure out something and do something. And I tell my following all the time, you have to have multiple streams of income to survive. Because even though I talk about my group homes, there's some moments where I hit lows, and a lot of it was because I wasn't putting in the adequate amount of time to market my business. But I had other businesses or other things that I was doing to be able to carry me. So as an entrepreneur, I feel like everybody should have more than one thing that's bringing in income for them. So for me, outside of my group homes, I'm going to be always exploring other businesses that I feel like I'm interested in. Because you got to be interested in what you're doing. You can't just be doing stuff. You got to take interest in it.
For sure.
And make profits off of things that I'm interested in. That's what I'll be doing. If
you don't love what you're doing or you're not interested in what you're doing, it's a limitation on how long you're going to do it, how hard you're going to go with it. The only thing you should be doing in life is stuff you love.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there who are working a job they don't really love. But what they do love is their family and the time they have, and they're able to, and have the things they need. That's okay. But if that doesn't make you happy, if you don't really love it, if you want to be really happy in life, you got to do what you love.
Yep.
Don't settle, for sure. So what you got coming up next?
So my conference tour starts March, the end of March. I believe it's the 22nd and 23rd.
Where's that at?
The first stop is going to be Houston.
Okay.
So we're going to Houston. Well, we got Texas, Illinois, Michigan, Arizona, Tennessee, Mississippi, Indiana. We just have, I think it's about 9 stops this year.
Nice.
And so I'm hoping to teach a lot of people.
Yeah.
My 2-day conference, like I said before, it is designed for you to be able to start your business, but when you leave and you have the ongoing support. And then, of course, I have my mentorship for those who actually need their hands held, because not everybody are fast learners. Some people need more guidance. Everybody learning style is different, and so I am someone who relates to everybody's learning style. So I meet people where they are.
Yeah, I think that's important when you're teaching, and I feel like that's one of the things missing in our education system is they act like everybody learns the same. It's not true. It's just different. It doesn't. There's no really reason why. Just people are different. You know, for every this is the way they were brought up, the way their mind works. So it's definitely good to offer people more than one way to learn, to give them something that correlates with them.
Right.
For sure. So before we get out of here, go ahead and tell them where they can follow you at, where they can find you at, and where they can find your mentorship at.
Okay, so my my Facebook group is Group Homes for Newbies. That's the same as my TikTok and my Instagram. My Facebook page, well, my personal page is Nette Renee, NetteRenee. And so my mentorship is www.grouphomesfornewbies.com.
And when you say 4, is that a number 4 or you spell it out 4?
FOR.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate you coming. I definitely feel like there's a lot of people out here who could definitely benefit from this information. I feel like group homes, you know, there's a lot of people out here. There's a lot of homeless people. If you look at Houston, it's a huge thing. Yeah. You know, but every major city. So I feel like we definitely need to fix that. And for your fighting to help do your part to fix that. Or, you know, when people getting out of prison, they don't have the income. They have a felony on their record, and it's hard to get a place. So being there for them, I respect it, and I definitely feel like we need more of that.
Yeah. So if you, the listeners, decide to join the mentorship or the Group Homes for Newbies conference tour, we spoke about mental health, and we spoke about just seniors, general homeless, or people who were turning citizens, but there are like 15 demographics of people who really do need this business model. So during my teaching, I do teach about all of those demographics. So these few demographics that we talked about may or may not resonate, but there are some other demographics that people may have a wow, aha moment and may be interested in this model. And just for people who are real estate investors with a lot of properties and don't know how to cash flow them, and they want to make more money from their property than a regular traditional family in it. I hear it's like $200 or $300 worth of profit each month. I'm like, wow, because I'm making $4,000 and $5,000 on somebody else's property. It's not even mine. So I do try to tell real estate investors, hey, you might want to learn this business model or partner with a group home operator so that you can do some profit sharing, because we are making more money on real estate than property owners
who are just running to one person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you're looking to get into group homes or you're looking to grow your group home, you know where to go.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming.
All right.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you on the next episode.
It's time to let it flow. It's time to let it flow. Yeah, it's time to let it flow.